And we're live for a quickie. I mean, broadcast, that is. We got one person. I'm trying to do earlier live broadcasts so I can catch the international crowd. Not the ones who are in the southern hemisphere like Africa or, Australia, because they're sleeping right now. But Europe and Asia and places like that. What's up, Dan? First one. So I did another live broadcast and people were asking a lot of questions about your glucometer numbers. And I thought, I'm going to do one dedicated to that and then take some free questions. Howdy, Joe. And Samira. What's up, everyone? This is like right before I go to the gym, so I'm going to try to get this in real quick. What's up? So, thank you. Hi, everybody. You're on your break. Okay. You can't watch you're going to watch the replay. Yeah, I understand, because it's like everybody's at work right now. What's up, Kim? Hey, everyone. People are joining the broadcast. Don't forget to like the broadcast if you like what I'm about to explain. See, I got Steve Hobbs from the UK, which I can't normally get people like that from the UK because I do them too late in the day. Need some motivation. I'm going to give you some motivation. Yes. Another one, Alex from the UK. What's up, Holly? Everybody's chiming in, and let's hope that this on the replay on YouTube is not pixelated. I'm very aware of that. I think it's when my phone starts getting kind of hot, which I'm going to try to create a shorter broadcast and talk a little bit about flip my words. Talk a little bit about the blood sugar and ketones. What's up, Poland? All right. It's so funny. I write Leto too instead of keto. Thanks, guys. We got Rusty from Utah and Utah. I'm already thinking about what I have to do next, which is making me flub up. All right, guys. So as everybody is chiming in, I want to talk about the blood sugar and the numbers, what they mean, what to look out for. Can you use breathalyzers, urine strips, all that stuff. What's up, everyone? Stoked to see you guys here. All right. So Ketogenesis, the ketogenic diet, the keto diet is, are you going to time to poke yourself while on, right? Okay. I have my glucometer somewhere. I was like, I don't have time to find it, but I found it. I found the needle and pen. Okay. So, as you guys know, I'm doing more and more live broadcasts. I want people to see that I can answer questions off the cuff and also provide important information that you just won't get anywhere else. People make keto sound so easy, and it's not. And I'm the one here to tell you that it's not easy. But if you do it the right way, because I get so many questions on all my social media and my email, like, can I do this if I have thyroid? Can I do that if I have this? And I'm just like, if you do, can I do this if I have type 2 diabetes or RA, rheumatoid arthritis? And I said, only if you do it the correct way. But everybody else on the internet's like, oh, take some exogenous keto OS, tablets and you're adapted. It doesn't work like that. And I will talk about the beta hydroxybutyrate salts as well in this broadcast. So I'm going to get right onto it and try to hurry up and be done soon so I can run out the door and get my day speeding up. All right, so essentially, ketogenic diet is when your body learns how to use, I'll talk about keto during pregnancy after I go through this whole little rant about blood sugar. So I explain this all the time. Your body can only handle about 5 grams of blood sugar, 5 to about 8. Hi from Russia. Every time you eat a meal, not all day long. Oh, that's great. I just dropped water. That's fantastic. At least it was just water. Oh boy. Okay. Well, I'll handle it in a second. Water on the ground. So essentially, your body can only handle about 5 to 8 grams. That's a teaspoon. That's every time you eat, and that's glucose. So if you have, for example, a piece of bread, that's around 33 grams of carbohydrate, and your body really can handle just about 5 to 8, more around 5. And that's because in the wild, we wouldn't have processed carbohydrates. So The planet's been around for a long time, way before we've been around, and the last time I checked, there's no bread trees or bushes. So when we started to farm our foods, we were able to make more, like higher quantities of processed carbohydrates through grains and breads and rice and things of this nature. But if we were to live outside and forage for food, we would get really small, tiny, bitter berries. We didn't have the cruciferous vegetable family. We didn't have all the fruits that we see now that have been selectively bred, hybridized, genetically modified. So the amount of plant source foods that we would gather is about a palmful. That's going to keep you in around that 5-gram range at least every time you eat something. So when you eat over 5 grams, the insulin, your pancreas has to work. So you eat 5 grams, and then your body has to match that 5 grams of insulin to take out the blood sugar and use it for energy or store it as fat. But if that blood sugar starts to become higher, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grams, not at once, your body has to keep partitioning out 5, 5, 5, and the blood sugar begins to rise, and the body has a difficult time to drop that blood sugar or use it. More, not drop it, but more use it. Hey, everybody. So essentially, that's the reason why people start developing blood sugar dysregulation or insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes and a whole other host of problems, because when you have too much circulating blood sugar, because the body's just like, yo, I can't handle the sandwich and the juice and, you know, the wine and the this and the that. It's so much blood sugar coming in at once, especially when you're drinking your carbohydrates. Then the body's like, it's freaking out. So it overshoots insulin to make sure to get out all of that blood glucose, because it does a thing called glycation, which damages the protein lining of your cells and makes you age and essentially develop any type of disease. So the cells become misshapen, your DNA chain shortens, and you look older and you look sick and you're tired and you develop all these issues. So I do consulting. You guys know I do keto consulting, and I've done it for a long time. So there's a lot of people doing it now. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm at a gym in LA, and now there's ketogenic bodybuilder coaches. They don't know what they're talking about. And I'll go into the cycling of the carbohydrates and the numbers and all this stuff. So with that said, for the reason why keto makes sense in the wild is because it's a protection gasoline tank, right? So if you're not eating, thank you for looking forward to the book, but if you're not eating anything, that in the wild you'll be able to get a text here. In the wild, you'll be able to access units of body fat and convert that into ketones and get it up into the brain so you don't die, essentially. But we've lost that ability to use ketones because the second we're born, we're introduced to man-manipulated foods. So our blood sugar numbers are just constantly high. And so the pancreas is overworking, and the brain becomes so used to using blood sugar that when you now as an adult try to force a state of being ketotic, the brain's like, no. It really resists and it wants that glucose back. And that's why it's difficult to keto adapt. You have to make so many changes in your life. So let's talk about the blood sugar numbers, because that's why you guys chimed in. So Saad, I'm not answering any questions at the moment. And I've got a bunch of water on the floor, but it'll dry. So the best way to superficially check your keto adaptation, right? And I use quotations because it's very difficult to know if you're keto adapting, is using a blood sugar glucometer. It's spelled glucometer, but it's pronounced glucometer. Tomato, whatever. Here's the point. It comes with a pen, with a needle. You see this is a Precision Extra. You put the lancet in and the needle in, and you take on the softer bits of the finger You prick your fingers, right? And then you've got the glucometer and you check the number. And so let's go over those numbers, when to test, why to test, and how it's relative to your keto adaptation. Now, someone said, oh, you keep saying use Precision Extra freestyle glucometers, but the reviews say that the numbers are off. Well, guess what? On all glucometers, it's not a perfect science. Okay, prick your finger one time. Don't prick 5 times, because the more you prick, the more the blood values, the numbers will change. I mean, our blood is constantly fluctuating. That's the reason why you want to, the main test is fasted, first thing out of bed before you pee, before you start doing stuff, because you want to be lying down, rise up, go to your nightstand, and test. That's what you need to do. Now, there's ketones and blood sugar, and you must test both. Or with just one, the one number will be very subjective. So you test blood sugar fasted. Let's say if you're a newbie, right? I'm just using newbie as an example. You test fasted in the morning on an empty stomach every day for the first 4 weeks. And this is to establish a rhythm of your blood sugar and try to understand what makes it drop or spike or balance. Now, with blood sugar, you can test all day long, but the most objective time is straight out of bed, because you haven't done anything. Your nervous system isn't, crack-a-lackin' yet. Blood values are more stable when you're not moving around. Now, you also test, I'll get into some of the questions. You also test your ketones. Now, here's the thing with ketones. You only test them fasted, because all ketogenic numbers tested late in the day are totally subjective. So you want to test your ketone numbers when you haven't eaten anything, because that's going to be showing us if you are breaking down ketones while sleeping, because you can create dietary ketones by eating, and that's subjective. We want to test what the ketones are looking like from the actual body, right? From the body fat when you're in a fasted state and not doing anything. Now, blood sugar you can test all day long. You can test all day long. And you know what some people do? They test all day long. And that's a problem too, because if you test 12 times a day, just the thought, the obsession to test will make your numbers totally subjective. Your numbers are probably going to run really, really high or really, really low if you test all day, all the time. But twice a week for the first 4 to 6 weeks, let's say like a Monday and a Thursday, you could test your blood sugar fasted when you wake up, 2 hours post breakfast, 2 hours post lunch, 2 hours post dinner. You could do it 30 minutes post workout, and you can test for allergies. So you would test 10 minutes before you eat something, and every 30 minutes, I know this is a lot of testing, but you would test every 30 minutes for food sensitivities, and even that's subjective. You can test every 30 minutes to see the trend of your blood sugar. It should spike and drop. So if you test 10 minutes before eating, let's say avocado is a high histamine food. People have latex allergies from avocados. That's a whole nother subject about lectins, salicylates, oxalates, goitrogens, nightshades, saponins, all of these plant chemicals that have an effect, and your gut, on your blood sugar numbers. But you do believe that nobody talks about this stuff on the internet. They talk about how to lose weight. Let's drop your fat and raise your protein and not do a ketogenic diet and use the word keto because it sells today and mess your thyroid up. But I digress. So you would test your blood sugar about 30 minutes after a workout. You want the sweat to dry. You want the heart rate to drop to resting heart rate. Then test. Test. Right? Test. Then you can see that if you don't have GLUT4 receptor development, you might see high blood sugar. If you've got high blood pressure and you've got low cortisol, you might see high blood sugar even if you're a lifter, right? Even if you lift and you've got great glucose-4 receptor development, but you prick your finger and your blood sugar's running really high, and that's because, unfortunately, your body's so fracked up that that type of workout is spiking your blood sugar. Because every time the body's super, super stressed, you're most likely to notice the higher blood sugar numbers. Now, at night, your blood sugar should drop when your body starts to hibernate. The trend should be, let's say, if you ate carbs, your blood, and I'm going to speak in milligrams per deciliter and not millimolar, because it's kind of confusing to say all the numbers. So the rest of the world tests in millimolars for blood sugar, and the United States tests in milligrams per deciliter. So that's mg/dl. Now, for the US, you want numbers between 69 and 80 milligrams per deciliter all day long if you are highly keto adapted. Now, can your blood sugar shoot up to the 90s? Of course, because your blood sugar is never going to stay in that range. If you almost get hit by a car, if you get super stressed out, if you're fighting a cold or a flu, if you have a menstrual cycle, you're going to notice that your numbers are generally in a ketogenic range, and all of a sudden they're super high, and people don't understand why. Or if you refeed on carbohydrates, and then the blood sugar becomes super unstable. Or you might have great blood sugar numbers for a while, for 3 months, and all of a sudden they go to shit. And you're like, I don't know why. Well, a lot of the reasons why people's blood sugar starts spiking is because their sleep is bad, or people go through the early morning dawns effect. And these are people who are going through sort of insulin resistant numbers, right? And there's also physiological insulin resistance response to doing a ketogenic diet that you didn't have before. That's why a glucometer is so important. Now, to a lot of you guys, I might be speaking like Mandarin or Cantonese, you know, or kanske jag ska prata lite svenska och så många inte förstår mig. So that's Swedish. So I might be even speaking Swedish. A lot of you guys may not understand this scientific verbiage, so I try to simplify this as much as possible. Testing your blood sugar is kind of interesting. Jag bodde i Göteborg, faktiskt jag bodde i Hisingen. Så att Lantmätargatan 4 jag bodde. Så ja, jag pratar lite svenska. I'm super rusty at it, but jag försöker i alla fall. Anyway, and yes, jag pratar göteborgsk för att jag bor i Göteborg, inte Stockholm. Läget. So anyway, here we go. Grymt. Vi har många svenskar här idag. Fantastiskt. No, it doesn't. Like, Swedish is like, look, I'm an American speaking Swedish, and I really try to not have, like, I know I'm digressing, I don't care. I try not to have that American accent, so it might sound Italian to someone who doesn't know Swedish, but Swedish people know I don't sound Swedish. Unless I'm like, tjena, läget, hur mår du? And I don't like talking that way. Anyway, here we go. So yes, I try to be very, very global. I love like all cultures and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, so the ketone numbers, okay, so yes, your blood sugar can go out of a ketogenic range and you can still be ketotic. But if they start trending up again, the blood sugar rises normally because of stress or gut inflammation or some kind of inflammation, cold, flu, menstrual cycle, life stress, partnership stress, or you're not sleeping well. Can this compromise your keto adaptation? Absolutely. If you're an athlete and you're keto adapted and all of a sudden your numbers go to shite, you might be over pushing the body. And the body has to go into gluconeogenesis to help protect itself. Being ketotic, like myself, I haven't gone over 20 net carbs in nearly 10 years. So I'm strict keto. So when you see these, you know, videos and people send me them like, oh, the ketogenic diet's dangerous in long term. Well, they don't know that. That's their assumption, right? That's their theory because they don't do it long enough or study it long enough to know. Nor do they study the fact that people are doing it wrong. So if you do the ketogenic diet the wrong way, it's dangerous, as any diet that's unconventional can be. And the misinformation on the internet is atrocious. It's embarrassing and it's disgusting. People should know better. And I would have, quadruple the amount of followers if I subscribed to eating all the garbage foods and created weight loss strategies. I would be massively huge, but I can't. I've been lied to. I'm disgusted by how I've been lied to. And that's the reason why I stick to my guns and try to tell you guys, if you're going to test your blood sugar, you have to test for food sensitivities. And other people don't talk about the food sensitivities. So if you notice, you test your blood sugar and it's let's say 77, you feel great at a 77, you're not hypoglycemic, and then you eat an avocado and it shoots up to an 82, is that a sensitivity to an avocado? Probably, but it's not a massive, thank you, Renata. It's not a massive sensitivity, but it's enough to raise an eyebrow and be careful, because stress and inflammation stacks up. Also, people are talking about the MTHFR, the motherfucker gene, MTHFR gene mutation, and now people are taking all this methylfolate and B12, and I'm like, they're going ham on the supplements. And that's another thing I want to talk about. You can use your glucometer to test around medications. A lot of you guys are on metformin and Synthroid, and people are on HRTs. Men, you guys are taking testosterone. Women, you're on the birth control pill, high blood pressure medication. Like, people are on all these medications. Will that affect your keto adaptation? 100%. SSRIs, like, yes, it will. And it can block that keto adaptation. And it's something I keep forgetting to talk about. So many of you guys are on too many supplements, and so many of you are on all these medications. And like, trying to get my mother off of medication, like, in her mind, that's what's natural. You take 15 medications a day, and if you don't take them, then you're not healthy. And I'm like, no, Mom, it's actually the opposite. Your body is supposed to regenerate and heal on its own, but you can't give it a chance. People who are taking melatonin out there, right? Valerian, supplements to sleep, supplements for ashwagandha, all this shit. And that can affect your blood sugar numbers. Now, ketone numbers should be between a 1.8 to a 3.0. People who've got ketone numbers that are lower than a 1.8, I'll be happy with a 1.5, consistent with lower blood sugar under, let's say, 83. That's not super ketotic, but you are in the right direction if you feel good. People who have ketone numbers over that 3.0, the problem is there's a sweet spot, boop, to your blood values. And blood values are also subjective. These machines can be about 20% off in their reading of the number. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt and also journal, but I digress. So your ketone numbers, the reason why like a 1.8 to like a 3.0, especially around a 2.0, is great ketone blood values, is because it shows that your body's actually making ketones, which is fantastic. When they get too high, it's kind of like when your blood sugar gets too high. Your body's not using ketones. They're not getting into the cell to be used. So they're just rising and rising and rising. And so people are like, am I in ketosis with a blood ketone number of 4.5? I'm like, no, they're not being used. So at the end of the day, they're ending up in the toilet. And that's why you guys don't feel great. I'm not talking about tea yet, honey. Renata, I'm talking about blood sugar. So hold on. And yes, I'll answer the question about it. But I don't mean to, I'm a sort of smart ass. But I'll answer the question about tea spiking blood sugar. By the way, cinnamon is a very high histamine food. So a lot, especially when it's cassia, not Ceylon cinnamon, it can spike people's blood sugar when actually cinnamon is supposed to drop it. So that's a whole nother thing. Like, there's a lot of details, and everybody's so busy in their life, they feel that keto is so complicated. So when I'm trying to explain to people that if their numbers are over ketone numbers are over a 3 point, and ketone numbers are always measured in millimolars and not milligrams per deciliter. So like I said, you do not test your blood ketone numbers later in the day because it could be subjective due to what you're eating. We want to see body ketone numbers, and that's why you only test fasted straight out of bed. And like I said, blood sugar can be tested all day long. I wouldn't do it every day because that can mess with your blood sugar values, because every time you think I need to test, your blood sugar can run too high. So you test twice a week for the first 4 to 6 weeks. If you take a break from keto and you try to do it again, you can use the glucometer, but don't overtest. Sometimes people overtest so much I have them get rid of the glucometer and just use a journal, because journaling your symptoms is sometimes, in many aspects, more objective than blood values, because blood values are always changing. And what's in the blood cannot be understood if it's going into the cell. By the way, there's 77 people in this chat. If you like the broadcast, you guys, before you have to leave and go back to work, please thumb up this broadcast, letting me know if you like the content so other people can also realize that there is a brain up in here. Thank you I see the numbers are going up to like the broadcast. I really appreciate it, you guys. So that's, in a nutshell, the blood sugar numbers. So if you guys have questions, I'm going to take them before I hit the gym. And the ketone numbers. If the ketone numbers are at a 0.5, whereas Steve Finney and Jeff Bullock wrote a book saying, oh, if your blood sugar, or sorry, if your ketone numbers are at a 0.5, you're in ketosis. You're actually not. I've just, they worked with endurance athletes mostly, and I think some metabolically deranged people, but I've worked with the spectrum of people, and people still have very horrible symptoms of hypoglycemia, which I want to talk about hypoglycemia real quick. Hypoglycemia, you could have absolutely perfect ketogenic numbers and be hypoglycemic. So if your blood sugar is under 80, if it's between 69 or if just under 80, but you still feel really tired, you tend to be hypoglycemic. So that means that even if your ketones are at a 2.0 and let's say your blood sugar is at a 71, but you're tired, you're not using those ketones, even though they're in the sweet spot range. So, the body is complex, yet it's very simple. And that's what I'm here to clear up the confusion. And for those who don't believe me that eating too much protein will put your body into gluconeogenesis, just use a glucometer. That's all you got to do. That'll shut people up real fast. There's no debate at all. Test your blood sugar for a month with high protein, and you'll see what the frack I'm talking about. I'm just saying. I'm not talking about estrogen dominance, Gina, not yet. I'm talking about blood sugar numbers. So, yeah. So, too much protein can spike your blood sugar. People tend to do zero carbohydrates. That's not necessary. If you eat cruciferous vegetables, cruciferous means crunchy fibrous, and that means that the body has to break down the fiber to get to the glucose. They're very low in carbohydrate. That, in most people that I've worked with, which is, you guys know, I've worked between 2,000 to 3,000 people at this point, been coaching a lot of people over time. And cruciferous vegetables, as long as you don't have like a plant chemical sensitivity, blood sugar numbers tend to be quite stable with 2 to 3 handfuls of raw, not packed, or cups of veggies measured raw before cooked. People with cruciferous who rotate their cruciferous vegetables don't have a blood sugar spike. People eat around 2 cups or 2 handfuls of vegetables every main meal. That's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That typically does not create a blood sugar spike, so stop trying to do zero vegetables. That's unnecessary. And fat has a glycemic index of 0, so if you don't have a gallbladder problem or sensitivity to pure fat, that should also not spike your blood sugar, right? Because fat has 0 carbohydrates in it, or sugar. Protein does. It has small amounts of carbohydrate in protein. So urine strips don't work, you guys, because it's what's coming out of your body into the toilet. And that's the problem. If your urine strip is purple, which indicates you're in ketosis, it's not showing what's even remotely close to getting into the cells. So typically when people are very highly ketotic or keto adapted, then their urine strip will be clear. But then that's also subjective, because if you're not using ketones, it will be clear. So get rid of the urine strips. The breathalyzers are the same problem. This is like, this is ketones, this is acetone. This is not indicative of what's going into the cells. So the breathalyzers are useless. I've done a lot of work. When those things came out and hit the market, we did a lot of testing with breathalyzers and journaling how you feel and the blood glucometer. And even though the blood glucometer is still off, it's the best indication. So be careful of drugstore glucometers. They're crap. The best one is Precision Extra, and even that is very subjective. They're under the umbrella Abbott. So if you got a Freestyle and you think that Freestyle is better than Precision Extra, it's not. It's from the same company. Okay, so I'm going to take your guys' questions. Here we go. I got about 10 minutes. And then I'm going to hit the gym because you guys know, boom, you know I love working out. Blood sugar numbers is way too low in keto. I don't know what you mean, Melly Mel. People who typically have like blood sugar in the 60s tend to be hypoglycemic. It's a very small amount of people who are actually very ketotic with blood sugar in the 60s. Okay, so Stephanie, do you need to be in ketosis for bloating and acid reflux to go away? No. You can address your metabolic damage and keto adapt at the same time, but the measures that one has to take to keto adapt when they have all this damage is a lot of changing of your lifestyle. And people just don't do that. I need to get more water because I dropped my water on the floor. I'll be right back. Hold on, guys. 1 second. So I dropped the whole cup of water on the floor, and every time I step in that direction, it's wet. Okay, I didn't see a single question. Let's see what we got. Okay, I see 74 people in the chat. Like up the stream if you like where I'm going and if you want me to do more live broadcasts. You recently had issues with acid reflux and haven't changed anything. Okay, the person who said that they recently had problems with it, no, you've had problems with it all the time. It just presented a problem when you start doing keto. People walk around with too low stomach acid all the time and don't know it until they do something like eat high fat, which you need the peptides and enzymes and caloric acids and bile salts to break down the fat. And because your stomach acid is low, you start to feel the effects of acid reflux. That's not something that keto did. That's something that was there all the time and it presented its ugly self when you tried keto. And so then you have to do things like potentially betaine HCl with pepsin. You have to chew your food very, very slowly. Some people use apple cider vinegar, which if you've got a SIBO, that can ruin your SIBO. So everything's like a balancing act. Any ideas on how I can increase fat intake after I hit my daily protein? Drink your fat. It's just melted butter in a tea. Easy. That's easy. I don't know why people think that's so complicated. It's so easy. Yes, more live broadcast. Test says so. Like up the broadcast. Please, guys. There's 76 people and only 69 likes. Give me some love, if you don't mind. You love drinking fat. Okay, my blood sugar. Wait. This woman says my blood sugar before training is 3.8 millimolar. 40 minutes after it's 4.34%. Can training at the same pace not fully adapted yet? If your blood sugar is at, first of all, I need to know what your ketone numbers are because with the blood sugar in the 3 points, if your ketones aren't high enough, that's hypoglycemia, which is why your blood sugar probably spikes when you do a workout because your body is stressed, the adrenals are overtaxed because you're not in ketosis, and then your blood sugar spikes. So you need to know what your estrogen, signs of estrogen dominance. Will estrogen dominance naturally correct itself after adaptation? Yes. Is there anything else I can do to facilitate hormone balance and effective birth control pill? Okay, so yes. Basically, to keto adapt, it hits every friggin' metabolic damage disorder if you do it the right way. So if you've got PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, you have high blood sugar numbers, if you have insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, if you have estrogen dominance, which, honey, all of us do. All of us women and a lot of men are estrogen dominant. that to get your estrogen down, you could do things like milk thistle or cruciferous vegetables to help, get some of that junked up estrogen in the liver. But really it's about sleep and hitting 5 REM state cycles throughout the night and hitting deep sleep and diaphragmatic breathing and all this hippie crap. I'm sorry, it works. If you're eating clean and you're eating every couple of hours so you don't develop hypoglycemia or physiological insulin resistance to keto, then your estrogens will balance out, the 3 estrogens with progesterone and testosterone, naturally by doing a strict or disciplined ketogenic protocol. Yay, the likes went up. Thank you, you guys. Awesome. After taking cold showers, notice the blood sugar has dropped. Nevada, or is it Navita? I don't know what I need. I would need more data. What markers do you recommend? Elisa, you have to replay the video because I explained all those numbers for like 30 minutes. Are there bad fats on keto? Seed oils and mostly plant fats that are unstable. Yes, unfortunately. Animal fats are very stable, especially when they're pastured and like bug-fed chickens and stuff like that. Pastured animals. Naturally running around animals that eat on the earth, on our crappy earth. I mean, because we've destroyed the soil. So Shannon, you need to probably think about going and getting some betaine HCl, go under the recommended dose to see if the acid reflux symptoms will lessen. And the fats primarily should be animal fat. On my meal plans, I put things in ranges. I do not tell people exactly what to eat because I've learned that people have histamine issues, salicylate, oxalates, and so what I try to do is like, here are your fatty meats, here are your fats, rotate, experiment, and journal. Because I can't tell you what to eat. Oh, Monday morning we're gonna have bacon and eggs, but you have a histamine response to the whites of the egg, or you can't handle lectins. Sleeping throughout the difficult, even coming. Okay, if you're having a hard time sleeping throughout the night, you're probably hypoglycemic in the middle of the night. It's cortisol that wakes you up, not having to pee. You have hormones that block the sensation of needing to pee, but when you're down deep into the levels of sleep and you bob back up and you wake up and you're like, oh, I've got to pee, it's because of cortisol. So now I'm telling people, which I said in my last live broadcast, have 1 tablespoon of a protein an hour before you go to bed with a tablespoon of fat. Even though you really shouldn't be eating at night because of the digestive issues, you have to pick the lesser of the 2 evils, and this should stop you from waking up in the middle of the night, which will stop the early morning dawns effect, and mind what you do 2 hours before bedtime, and that should also stop the early morning dawns effect of high blood sugar in the morning. Boom! So you guys know, I'm writing the Ultimate Keto book. I have to remember to say that, and there's all these keto books coming out, and there's kernels of information, and the rest of it I really can't subscribe to. I think it's bad. Sorry. And so I'm trying to break this down to show you guys, like, everything. So it makes more sense to you, right? Why you can have perfect ketogenic numbers, but you still don't feel adapted. Or why did your total cholesterol bounce up 150 points when you start doing keto? Like, it's hard for people to describe that. If you do keto the wrong way, your triglycerides will go up because your blood sugar, you're going into physiological insulin resistance. It's a stress on the body, and it can raise your inflammatory markers if you do keto the wrong way. Somebody asked, by the way, I gotta remember, somebody asked about children, babies, keto. Yes. Ketos are born semi-ketotic because they're not exposed to high levels of glucose. So there's very high fat in their milk. So these babies are able to produce ketones and use them. So if you took a baby and you transitioned it into a ketogenic lifestyle, it should adapt absolutely normal if you keep, thank you, by the way, I can't pronounce your name, but if you keep, coffee enemas are bad because coffee enemas are also pulling out good bacteria. You don't need coffee enemas, right? If you do a colonic or a coffee enema, you could do it like 1 time in your entire life. Like, no. You're not supposed to be sticking coffee bean up your ass. Like, you're not. And people become addicted to that stuff, but I'm digressing. Small children, teenagers, all can do ketosis. You have to graduate them. into, because they won't understand, you know, the hypoglycemic response. You have to baby step it. And I'm going to create a program on how to graduate people into ketosis instead of doing it overnight. Journaling tips, yes. Somebody said give us some journaling tips. The journaling tips would be write down how long it took you to fall asleep. Because when I ask people, they're like, oh, I sleep pretty fast. I'm like, well, how long? They're like, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes. I'm like, what? You should be sleeping like 5 to 8 minutes. Done. And I don't mean fall asleep in 30 seconds. That's adrenal fatigue. I mean fall asleep in about 8 minutes, right? And then you have dreams, consecutive dreams, and you wake up refreshed. You journal that. If you wake up in the middle of the night, how many times? You wake up in the morning tired, write it down. If you hit the snooze button, how long do you sit in bed for? Do you crash in the middle of the day? So that would be your energy levels. And then you would journal your appetite. Do you have no appetite? Is it because your gallbladder is all sludged up, right? Do you have problems with your biliary? Do you have any blockages? Do you have any low stomach acid? Or are you actually adapted? Like, there are reasons why people lose their hunger, and quite often it's not because they're adapted, unfortunately. You would also write down, so energy levels, appetite, and things like keto flu symptoms, like cramps, constipation that comes from keto, dry eyes, people's mucin production goes down on keto for some people. Write down if your menstrual cycle starts to freak out or not, or write down things that are improving, like skin quality is improving and aches and pains. Write it all down, but it's literally the sleep quality, appetite, and energy levels. Those are the three main. That's what you journal. Or like I tell people to do a digestive journal. Like certain foods bloat you, make you tired, make you gassy, constipate you, make you lose stool. Does your poop float or sink? Stuff like that. Yeah, you gained 5 kilos. Yeah, it's so normal. Unfortunately, it is, and it is the way it is. And without proper guidance, you know, that's why people try to book consultations with me, so we can go through every single thing. And every time I call it, I have not had one consultation where people are like, I'm disappointed, I didn't get the information I wanted. People are like, damn, Steph. So I'm really confident for what I do at this point. I don't know what TOM is, sorry. Maybe it's because my brain's speeding up and I need to get out the door. No, not unlimited amount of greens, because if you eat too many greens, it can spike your carbohydrate. If you're cooking them, do you cook out all the fiber? Now you've raised the carbohydrate count. That's why I said 2 to 3 cups, which is 2 to 3 handfuls, right? Max. That's it. That's all you need. Time of the month, yes, can spike your blood sugar. It normally does in all women, so don't freak out about that. Okay, so any tips on moms, keto with toddlers, always tired waking up? Yes, toddlers, please, 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 mothers, get your child on a circadian rhythm. Put your child in a dark room around 5:30 in the evening. No light exposure, no iPads, television. We want dimmer lights. Your child will fall asleep. If the child was living outside, they wouldn't be exposed to all this technology. The circadian rhythm is the problem with toddlers. The biggest problem. Your thoughts about taking meds for thyroid medications. I think that thyroid medications are bullshit. I'm sorry. I think they don't work over time. I think they work in the beginning. And then I think your body's like, okay, fake, even if it's armor, right? If it's pig thyroid or T3. After a while, your body's like, why would I make my own thyroid hormone? I'll just wait for this man-made bullshit to get into my body and not work well. You don't need thyroid medication, people. If you're hypothyroid, I'm more interested. If you have no thyroid at all, that's different from just hypothyroidism. A lot of you people, after a while, you're like, you don't lose the weight. You're still tired on your thyroid med, your thyroxine and all this synthroid crap. Fresh lemon water if you don't have histamine intolerance. Unfortunately, lemons are a high histamine food. And if you don't, lemon water is fantastic. It'll help pull out the pectins in the lemon, will help pull out the estrogen out of the liver that's creating a lot of problems. Type 2 diabetic, insulin and metformin if you have a low... okay, this is different. You can't just stop with your metformin. Polycystic PCOS women, it's a whole nother story. Low correct with 15 grams to get my blood sugar back. Wait, that's correct with 15 grams. Carbs. No, you don't, Tanya. This is what you've been told. You've been told, wait, with my normal 20 gram net carbs. Okay, so Tanya, you don't have to eat 15 grams of carbs to get your blood sugar normalized. That's a bunch of bullshit. And that's, sorry, I don't mean to cuss you guys. Keto for during pregnancy is absolutely fantastic if done correctly only. Thyroid cancer can help, yes, but again, it has to be done correctly. For the person who had to add 15 grams of carbs, you probably need a consultation with me. You have to be careful what I say in a broadcast because I can't say it all at once, but it's about timing of your food. It's about the kinds of fats, the quality of sleep, and I've worked with a ton of type 2 diabetes who actually have taken all their diabetic symptoms gone on keto. Many people. But if you don't do it the right way, then yes, you have to eat your 15 grams of carbs. If you don't keto the right way and you keep noticing your blood sugar shooting up too high, over, 20 milligrams per deciliter. Yes, I have a private group keto course page. You can go to my website to sign up for that. I do live broadcasts there, but there's not so many people there as there is here, and I actually can answer your guys' questions. And then I'm posting course information 4 days out of the week, and then open discussions 3 days out of the week. So if you guys want to learn, go to stephanieperson.com for my Facebook membership. And you can't sign up on Facebook. You have to sign up through my website, stephanieperson.com, for that. It takes about a year to heal the gut if you've got holes in the gut wall. If you've got holes in the gut wall, if they're open, right, with those zonulins, it's going to take about a year. And that's a year of consistency. And when I coach people, it's like, I know I was doing keto for like 6 months, and then like one night I had some wine. Is that bad? I'm like, okay, you're not serious. Yo, you're not serious. You do it or you don't do it. There ain't no half-ass in this stuff. Yes, it's $15 a month for a keto course. So that's nothing with the amount of knowledge that you gain on the page. And it's not like a private page where people just vomit like before and after pictures and all these like recipes. If I have a recipe sharing day, it has to be really smart recipes that are mindful of all of people's sensitivities to foods. So then people really learn how to meal prep or eat foods that are going to help you in your keto adaptation, rather than all of this stuff made with cheese and with nuts and with almond flour. Okay. So if you guys don't have any more questions, I'm going to hit the gym. You can catch me on my Instagram, which is Stephanie Ketogenic. I think I'm going to do some handstand push-ups today. Boom! And some pull-ups. Boom! Not too bad for a woman who's turning 50. And somebody tried to make fun of that. I was like, you can't make fun of looking like this at 50, honey. I'm sorry. This is all epigenetics and a lot of work. What should blood sugar range be after eating? It should be stable all day. It should be between 69 and 80 milligrams 2 hours after eating if you are ketotic. Yes, I am 50. And I keep saying that I'm 50 because I live in LA and everybody's lying about their age nonstop. And I'm like, don't lie. Own it. Fix this, right? Because the body is a reflection of your mind, which somebody commented, oh, there's all these great people who are smart, who are overweight. I'm like, you don't get it, hun. Baby cakes. It's not about if you are intelligent. It's about, it's about your energy levels, your self-perception of yourself, your confidence, your value. As we get older, raspberry on ketones now will probably spike your blood sugar. You can over time. You guys can do keto while you're pregnant if it's done the right way only. And exogenous ketones, the beta-hydroxybutyrate salts, don't work. They're really expensive. They're multi-level marketing companies that are trying to rip you off when your blood sugar's too high. And the ketones only spike for a certain amount of hours. That's not being ketotic. It's a joke. And it doesn't matter what your ketone numbers are, because if your blood sugar's too high, you're not adapted. Or if the ketones aren't being absorbed into the cell or used by the cell more so, then that doesn't matter. Stop eating cheese. I couldn't see the whole comment. Let's see. Experience where you took blood sugar prior to cold shower. Don't take cold showers if you have adrenal insufficiencies. Sure, then after every time I saw drop blood sugar and drop advice. Okay, Navita, I told you I don't have enough information. That's nothing, right? 2 sentences isn't going to tell me anything. Fat bombs are fine with the right ingredients, like coconut oil and butter, and if you don't have a sensitivity to butter. You don't want someone to give you advice on being overweight. To be honest, as you guys know, look how fast I'm talking because I'm trying to get out the door. It's not the fact that I talk about weight loss. I don't. I talk about being healthy because I don't care about weight loss as a life goal. I care about disease prevention and healing metabolic derangement. That's what I talk about. Because I said in my last broadcast, you could be ripped and shredded and be sick as hell. You could have thyroid problems, polycystic ovarian syndrome. You could have liver disease. You could have gallbladder disease. You could have all this problem or gut inflammation, and nobody would even know it. So that's why I don't like to talk about weight loss and like to talk about being healthy. I really love Steve Finney. I just love his good nature. He's got a lot of great points. He keeps reminding people like it's not so safe to intermittent fast. His thing is to mind yourself on your electrolyte balance, but I'm way deeper than that on why not to intermittent fast. Parich, thank you, Navita. Yeah, weight loss in the context of getting healthy, but it's not like actually weight loss because you don't want to lose muscle, right? You don't want to lose bone. You want to lose unhealthy visceral fat that's clogging up your arteries. That's what you want to lose. So, and that's a science that people and all these lay crowd on the internet who talk about keto, they don't talk about visceral fat and things of this nature. No coffee, that's right. No cake. Keto does help people with candida, and I've tested this a billion times. And these reports that ketones spike your candida, lies. Lies, 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 yeah. Remember the Thompson twins? It's a bunch of bull crap, and it's all anecdotal. Be careful, guys. Oregano oil, be careful. It's a real high histamine food. To kill candida. Actually, lauricidin, I showed a lauricidin bottle. It's concentrated caloric acid from coconut oil, which some people have a coconut sensitivity, but the ones who don't, lauricidin is probably your best bet to kill that freaking candida. Yes. Because coffee, Santiago, it does this to your body. Would you give it to a baby? No, you wouldn't. It overstimulates your adrenal glands to produce more adrenaline and cortisol, which can be inflammatory if there's too much of it. You know, then you've got to talk about the quality of the coffee bean, that when it's roasted, a lot of the antioxidants are killed. Nobody talks about that. Then we're not talking about how long the shelf life of the adrenaline is in your bloodstream. Nobody talks about that. The acidic value to the blood. Nobody talks about that. The effect on the stomach wall, on your gut lining, right? It's very harsh. No one's talking about the fact that it's a diuretic, and if you have a vitamin D deficiency, you're losing more D. Come on, peeps. Anyone who says what's wrong with coffee is a coffee addict. Sorry, not to be rude, but it is the way it is. Boop! Messes with your adrenals, that's a fact. That's not natural, people, honey. Pork rinds as like a desperate snack on an airplane or on a long car drive, but no. Coffee is the worst thing to stick in your body. And it's like one of the most heavily sprayed pesticide plant on the planet because that shit makes money, and that's why people protect it. And that's why you can go on the internet and see so many pro-coffee articles. Tea is somewhat okay. You also have to be careful for the tea bag because of the mycotoxins. I mean, we gotta watch everything we stick in our mouth, people that man manipulates. Boom, plant pectins, that's a whole nother subject, don't have time. I was supposed to be out the door 20 minutes ago, so I'm gonna go, you guys. Next broadcast, I'll talk about plant chemicals, which is a very interesting subject. I'm gonna go and get the business right now at almost 50. If you guys wanna learn more, you can go to stephanieperson.com. You guys know I'm writing the Ultimate Keto book. And be careful for what you listen to on the internet. They're gonna tell you what you wanna hear, and I don't. So thank you guys, and I'm glad that you learned a heaps amount. 40 grams of protein per day is too low, per meal is way too high. Okay, too many questions, I'm out. Thank you guys so much, and I finally did an earlier broadcast for those who are like, she needs to do earlier ones. Like up the stream, you guys, the ones who haven't before you go. So to let me know, and if you guys want to see me do more live broadcasts, then you have to hit the subscribe button, and you'll get a notification when I go live, because a lot of people don't know that I go live. You can't do 2 big meals a day. That'll spike your blood sugar. You have to eat your food throughout the day, and it'll create hypoglycemia. I've seen it a million times. When you're trying to keto adapt, do not eat 2 meals a day and do not intermittent fast. Boom! And I'm out. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the broadcast. Be looking for me on Instagram or my Facebook, which is Stephanie, the business person, where I get to do more of the fun part of living life, which is to do some fun workouts and some calisthenics. And what I eat for breakfast and all that stuff, just wait. Okay, always enjoy your live presentation, Stephanie, at Stephanie Keto Person. Have a wonderful rest of your week ahead. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching. I know I wanted to say something else, but I cannot remember for the life of me. So just stay tuned, and I'm out. Peace.